Whoa, Nelly. It is the podcast, Bryan and Ryan, Brian Houston, along with Ryan Peterson. Mr. Peterson, how are you?
I'm great, trying to stay dry. A lot of
That's
rain
I
going
had
on.
we had a lightning strike right outside my window that, normally you get that count to three and then you hear thunder. That didn't
Yeah.
happen. The house shook immediately. It's like it hit the house. So, yeah. So, we're going to start off talking about something that we know nothing about, and that's horse racing. But every year, I will always record the Triple Crown, and I'll watch that 2.5 minutes. I'm not watching that 7.5 minutes, 7.5 hour pregame
Yeah,
show.
hour pre.
Yes,
It's hours,
where
not minutes.
where Johnny Weir's got some weird flower on his head. I'm not doing that. Okay, but Medina Valley won the Kentucky Derby. Bob Baffert's horse. Bob Baffert dominates this sport,
Hmm.
but then got a positive drug test earlier this week, and then there was some doubt about whether Medina Valley, I'm sorry, would run in the Preakness. Well, we found out this afternoon that they are going to allow him to race in the Preakness. Baffert has agreed to pre-race blood testing, monitoring, and medical review. That's going to be. Baffert said in a statement earlier that Medina Spirit was treated with an antifungal ointment containing the steroid betamethasone that caused the horse to fail a post-race drug test. Is the horse juicing?
Well, and I don't know much about this either. I had read that it wasn't an illegal substance. It was just the horse had too much of it.
Mhm.
I do think it's hilarious that we're talking about horses juicing.
What else are we going to talk about in May?
And And as Baffert, has this happened before? Because I thought Pat Forty had written an article saying that this isn't the first time that Baffert's had to explain something like this.
I think you're correct on that. Now, don't hold me to it, but I do know that that some of his practices have been in question at times. Again, I don't know enough about the sport to
But
make up.
he's won the Derby.
It's insane.
Yeah, and he's had multiple Triple Crown winners. So he wins. I was a little surprised that they cleared the horse for the next race. Because yeah, then I mean it's going to look bad to me if the horse wins again, and then everyone's going to claim that he's juicing.
Check
But
check this record out though for Baffert. If he is cheating, he's doing a really good job. Okay, trained the 2015 Triple Crown winner American Pharaoh and the 2018 Triple Crown winner Justify. His horses have won 6 Kentucky Derbies, 7 Preakness Stakes, 3 Belmont Stakes, and 3 Kentucky Oaks. When Bob Baffert shows up with that white hair and the blue blazer, there's money all over him, man.
yeah,
I mean, there's no denying the guy's just whatever he's doing, it's working. It's working real well. But I personally think that horse racing is a little bit like boxing. I think that if there are some rules being bent, I think, for instance, I know that the Preakness wanted that horse to run this weekend. I don't think they cared whether there had been an illegal substance in the horse. I know
yeah,
they
it's
wanted
good for
Medina.
business, and you're right because, well, I mean, I was gonna say that they want to have the chance for a Triple Crown, but I guess they would have DQ'd from the Derby, and then the runner-up horse would have been declared the winner, and then I guess still had a chance for Triple Crown, but it wouldn't have the same. I
No,
don't know.
and and
It wouldn't
and
be the same.
and because Medina Valley is running this weekend, 9-5 favorite. So, just so in case you want to lay down some cash on that, I just want to let you know
I
that I know
I don't
nothing.
gamble because if I did, I would be miserable watching sports,
I,
freaking out about every result.
I don't gamble because I'd always lose. That's as simple as it gets. Mavericks, Luka Doncic gets ejected Sunday, but it's not a technical foul. Okay. So right now, he had an aggressive, he got kicked out of the game against Cleveland for an aggressive strike to the groin area. But it wasn't a technical. So he's still got one to play with. He's got 15 technical fouls this year. He's one shy of an automatic 1-game suspension with 4 games remaining. Can Luka keep it together for 4 games? Their magic number is 2 to get to not have to play in the play-in.
Well, so a part of me is like, okay, just be on your best behavior. The other part of me is like, just get the technical out of the way, like this next game, so that it doesn't happen like at the last game of the regular season into the playoffs where he's getting suspended for a playoff game. But you know, I don't know, he's a fiery guy. He gets emotional. He has said, though, that he won't get another one, but he said that and then he gets ejected. And I know it was a different thing and it was kind of a fluke. He said after the game, he didn't even realize what he had actually done until after he saw it on the replay afterwards. But I do think it is the big thing, though. It is important that the Mavs stay out of that play-in. It was funny, several weeks ago, Mark Cuban was complaining about it, but now the Mavericks have climbed to the 5 seed. That's pretty much their ceiling. They're not going to get higher than that, but if they can, and the funny thing is with the Lakers slipping with LeBron's health, he's been injured. He's supposed to try to come back this week, but the Mavericks can kind of be in a good spot where they could avoid playing like the Clippers or the Lakers, because in that 4-5 seed, they would play Denver. I still don't think they'd beat Denver, but I think they would like their chances more with Denver. And then you would play like a Utah in the second round instead of the Clippers or the Lakers, which with how the playoff tree would be structured, you'd avoid them until the conference final. So I do think it's important that they avoid that. So if for any other reason he needs to be on his best behavior, he needs to play so that they can make sure that they don't fall, because they are, I mean, it's really stacked very close, because right behind them is Portland, I think a game back, and then the Lakers are a game back from there. So they're only 2 games from, you know, being safe to being in the play-in game, which again, then your season could be over, you know, very quickly. Playing a very hot Steph Curry or something like that, it's going to be, a lot of these teams don't like it. They've been complaining about it, but it is what it is, and you've got to make sure you stay out of it if you can.
The crazy thing about it is because there are some really good teams in the league, the Mavericks are not being looked at like they maybe should be. They're 12 games over 500. That's a good basketball team. You know,
Yeah, they're good, but in the West,
you take away the COVID issues they had early in the year, and they may be a 50-win team. But go ahead.
No, but I followed the NBA pretty closely. They don't play defense typically.
Is anybody?
And a lot of teams have had COVID throughout the season. So
no argument.
No, they're a good team. I'm not saying they're not good. And again, if they can stay in the 5 seed, I think they would feel much better about that and having a chance to maybe win a couple rounds. But I still don't think they're as good as Denver. Jokic has been the MVP this season. So I still think, look, we've seen in the NBA, I think the Mavericks are set up where they're going to be very good for a long time. This is the part where you have the young superstar. They take their lumps in the playoffs, but eventually, you know, they're going to get there. I just don't think this is going to be the year. But the Mavericks are good. Look, I guarantee you, no one wants to play the Mavericks because no one wants to see Luka, because if the game is close and it comes down to the end, when he has the ball, you're going to be scared to death. But yeah, he needs to make sure that he's on the floor and controlling his emotions a little bit better.
And let me make sure I'm on record as saying nobody is saying the Mavericks are going to make it, you know, 5 deep in the playoffs or get in the finals or anything like that. I'm just saying that they're a good, dangerous basketball team. And the odd thing is they're actually, to me, they are actually better when Porzingis is not on the floor, which is most of the season. You know,
Yeah.
The guy cannot stay healthy. But I love Dwight Powell at center, and you know, and the in and out game they can play, and the rebounding and the toughness that he gives the Mavericks. Porzingis is kind of like Dirk was. I mean, he's shooting outside, you know, and you know, obviously Dirk was much more durable, but it's just interesting to see Luka still not getting. I mean, I've seen players whine a whole lot worse than Luka over the course of their careers. You know, I mean, there's a lot of guys. Russell Westbrook whines. I mean, LeBron whines. And I just think that they're just not giving him the respect really that I think he deserves at this point. I mean, it's pretty hard to argue with the fact that he's probably one of the top 5 players in the league.
Yeah, no, but again, I think that will come with time. He's still young. Um, but yeah, he's just gonna he has to be on the floor. And it is funny though, you talked about Porzingis. Um, I don't know if Porzingis is the piece that they need to take that next step. And the NBA is so difficult because unless you draft the guy or you can somehow work out a trade, stars don't only go to certain markets in free agency. So they made the trade to get Porzingis, trying to give Luka the wingman he needs. But like you said, I mean, they look good without him.
He's
So
never
I wonder
available.
long term is that going to work?
He's never available. I
Yeah,
mean, the guy misses more than half the season and has the whole time he's been in the league. I mean, when they're together, they're pretty dynamic, but it
yeah,
happens so infrequently that you can't. I almost feel like I'm watching Bill Walton. Bill Walton had all the foot issues, and so out of that long career he had, he probably made it through 3 seasons in his lifetime where he was actually healthy for the whole year. And 2 of those he won the championship with Portland, and he won a championship with the Celtics when he could stay on the floor. Porzingis has not proven he can do that yet, and I'm really afraid that he's not going to be able to do that. All right, football. Several things. First of all, what are you hearing about Aaron Rodgers to Denver at this point? Because Cleveland says they're out. They are sticking with Baker Mayfield, and they are going to roll with him and see how it goes.
well, the old adage, where there's smoke there's fire. I think that, and a lot of people that I follow and listen to, they're claiming that they're very much going to be in play. The problem with all this is, and why I won't hold my breath on it, is that the Packers would still have to agree to trade him. And I I a part of me just thinks that Green Bay will just say, go ahead and retire. It's going to be interesting to see. We talked about last week, nothing's going to happen until after June 1st. It have to be June 2nd. But I just have a feeling this is going to get uglier, and someone's going to have to give. Because rumors are that Favre, it's like Favre.
Almost like that.
So Favre says he thinks he's done. But Rodgers, his fiance, is from Boulder, just near Denver. He wants to be close to the West Coast. He likes all the weapons the Broncos have. The Broncos actually have a really good roster, except for quarterback. So they have the salary cap room that they could take him. So all that makes sense. But I don't know that Green Bay is going to do it. They keep saying they're not going to trade him. It's going to come down to, do they believe Rodgers' bluff? Are they going to say, go ahead and retire because we're not letting you go? I think that would be crazy to do if there's a team offering you multiple first-round picks for a 37-year-old quarterback. But I don't know what they'll do.
The only team I could see doing that, because John Gruden, he's always chasing the next quarterback, and I could see the Raiders giving up the world to try to get Aaron Rodgers.
The problem with the Raiders is, yes, you could send Derek Carr back, but Derek Carr has a big salary cap number, and the Packers may not want that. And, the Packers have a first-round QB on their roster. Maybe the Packers would rather have Teddy Bridgewater for a bridge quarterback that has a $3 million cap hit, where they can keep the flexibility. So that's the thing. Like, you don't know what the GM's going to be thinking. Yes, you're like, well, Derek Carr is a much better quarterback. They would want him. But if you don't think Derek Carr is a great quarterback and he has a huge cap number, why are you going to want him? And then it's not going to work for the Raiders unless they get rid of Carr's contract. So I think it would be harder, but I do think the Raiders and Broncos are probably the only 2 teams that it could possibly happen. I don't think anyone else really makes sense that the Packers would be willing to send him to at this point. Because like you said, Cleveland said they're not going to do it. So, Baker Mayfield appears safe. But again, I'll believe it when I see it, because I just think Green Bay is going to play hardball, and it's going to be surprising to me if they do actually give in and say, okay, we'll trade you.
Well, I can say this: if they want to play hardball, they're picking the wrong guy because I do believe Aaron Rodgers would walk in a heartbeat just to make a point because he's that stubborn.
And that would be really sad as a football fan
Hmm.
because I love watching him play. And I think the NFL, you almost wonder, would the NFL make a phone call saying, hey, you need to figure this out because we want Aaron Rodgers on the field.
Yeah.
We can't have him walking away. Um, One other note, I hadn't thought about this. Clay Travis had brought up, like, if he did get traded to the AFC, the seismic shift you could see, Tom Brady would be licking his chops because in the NFC, Tom Brady's like, Breeze is gone, Rodgers is gone, and Brady's like, heck, I could win. I could go to the Super Bowl a few more times here in the NFC.
Sure.
I mean, it would be crazy what it would do in the NFC because the Packers obviously would go down a big notch. With Breeze gone, the Saints are going to go down a notch. Maybe it would open the door for the Cowboys to make a jump, but Tampa Bay would have to feel great about their chances.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you mentioned too the NFL is going to release their schedule probably about the time you watch this, folks. And you were talking about a potential opener.
Yeah, Peter King, who always does great work, he had wrote that his two possibilities, because they're the only ones that really have some exciting possibilities to them for Tampa Bay's home schedule. Because remember, the defending champs always open on Thursday night. The two options are Buffalo with Josh Allen or the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
And he really thought that it's going to be one of those two because the rest of their home opponents don't really move the needle. I think Cowboys make a whole lot of sense. Cowboys so many times, no matter, like you said, it doesn't matter if they have the worst record in the league, they will open on prime time. Having Dak back, having that explosive offense, think about, you could have a high scoring shootout with Dak and Brady to open the season on Thursday Night Football. I would be excited to watch that game. So I think it's very possible, Cowboy fans, that they'll be opening up at Tampa Bay on Thursday Night Football.
Isn't that incredible when you think about it? As mediocre as Dallas is every year, you know that game will get a huge number if it's Tampa Bay against Dallas. That
Oh,
would
it would be
that'd be
huge.
a great opener.
Brady, defending champs, Cowboys. And again, with Dak being back, look, no matter what you think about the Cowboys, their offense should be explosive. And that's why it's such an appealing matchup to me for the NFL, because it could be a 40 to 35 shootout, and which is what people are going to want to see on opening night. So don't know that it will happen for sure, but don't be surprised if that's the Cowboys season opener.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, usually the only other thing they normally do is sometimes they'll try to throw together a rematch of the Super Bowl, which would be Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs against Brady and them, and that would draw a huge number too, I think.
Yeah,
But
but they don't play, so
right,
they don't have to worry about that one.
so that's good, and I'd be fine with that. I'd be very interested to see that. A couple other things. Tim Tebow,
You had to
after
think
all
about it.
these years, when I said when he came out of college, he's not going to be able to play quarterback. He's not a quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback. Go to tight end. You can be a 15-year player with that body. He wouldn't do it. Stubborn. Finally washed out of the league, played minor league baseball for a while till he retired from that. And now his old coach, Urban Meyer, is going to take a chance on a 33-year-old guy that hasn't played football in what, 5 years now?
Yeah, 2015, he was with the Eagles in the preseason.
So 6 years. Okay. And making a position change at the age of 33. First of all, I think Urban Meyer would be the only guy that would even give him this chance. But do you think he has it in him to make it happen?
I really don't. Now, if there was, I think it will be hard for Urban Meyer to cut Tim Tebow, but being out of football for as long as he's been out, making and here's the other thing, Brian, when Tim Tebow, a tight end has to be able to block at least somewhat. I mean, Tim Tebow blocking,
Hey,
like that's
he's
not
big
something.
enough. He's
But my thing is, this is if Tim Tebow had done this 9 years ago,
yeah.
8 years ago, like I think he could have had a really great, fun NFL career. He would have been a fun, Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
A different kind of Taysom Hill.
That
He's so
that would have
good
been a
on 2-point
perfect deal.
conversions and goal line, but he's a good athlete. He's fast. like he could have been a nice little piece, but doing this at 33, yeah, I'm not. The funny thing to me is everyone's getting bent out of shape about this. Oh, he's taking a roster spot and all this. I'm like, give me a break. If you can't beat out 33-year-old Tim Tebow,
Thank you.
I don't want to hear about it. Urban Meyer can do whatever he wants. You know, Tim Tebow was important to his career. If he wants to let him have a shot, let him have it. And then the other thing too, I don't like hearing the comparisons between Tebow and Kaepernick, because if Tebow was getting a chance at quarterback, then yeah, I would agree.
No.
But Kaepernick isn't changing positions. Tebow is trying out on a horrible team to play tight end that he's never played before. And the reality is he's not going to make it. Like, and if he does, then the rest of the other guys should be embarrassed, that are competing with him, because he hasn't played football, and like you said, since 2015.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the body for it. Now, like I said, 33, though, that's the problem, is the 33 and hasn't played in 6 years. I think, like you, that if this had happened 6 years ago, he might have a shot. He could, and I think, like I said, he's got the body for it. I mean, he's huge. I've seen him in person.
And he had to stay in great shape playing minor league baseball.
Yeah.
And I will give him this. He did better than I thought he would in minor league baseball. I mean, he was a solid professional player in the minor leagues. I mean, he is a good athlete. He's big, he's strong, he's a great leader. He's positive, he's encouraging. But yeah, a 33-year-old never playing tight end before, trying to make it work in the NFL. And guys are going to be going for him, Bryan, because their guys already ticked off about him getting this shot. So he's not going to be popular in the locker room, I don't think, at least when he first walks in. And it is important to note, too, that he has not officially been signed yet either. So, but it's supposed to happen. But yeah, he's not officially been signed.
All right. Cam Newton turns 32 on the day that we record this, May 11th, at about 5:28 as we're recording it now. Anything left in that body?
I don't know. I don't expect anything great. I mean, he can still play quarterback and be serviceable. But the Superman that we saw, the MVP, I don't think so. Cam played such a violent style of quarterback. He's such a big target. He's taken so many vicious hits. Last year, if you watched any Patriot games, they were running him a ton, and he's taken all these hits. And I know he's a big guy and he can sustain more, but those hits add up, and he's taken more hits than a lot of other quarterbacks. And over the course of a 10-year career, I don't know, because Cam has never been the most accurate passer, but all the other things made up for it. And I still think he can be an okay quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be Superman or a Pro Bowl level quarterback. And I think I would be surprised if he makes it through the season as New England starting quarterback, because I think it'll be interesting to see, will they move to Mac Jones at any point? They take a quarterback in the first round.
I think the most likely thing that'll happen is that he'll get injured, because he's been getting injured every year.
Yeah.
And then Mac Jones or Jarrett Stidham will end up on the field. Last year, 15 games. He did manage to get through 15 ball games.
And he missed the games because of COVID. So, right. I mean, it wasn't injuries last year. It was COVID, not injuries.
Completed 65.8% of his passes, 2,657 yards, 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 82.9 passer rating, made him 22nd overall. That doesn't speak to me of a quarterback that's got a lot left. Now, COVID, he did say, affected his game after he came back. And having now seen it firsthand with my own son, it does hit you hard. And just knowing what I feel after I've taken a couple of vaccines, I can imagine that it can't be fun. And I still wonder if that didn't impact Zeke Elliott some. I don't want to give Zeke excuses, but he did have COVID, and that may have impacted how he played for the majority of the season.
The one thing I will say, and Cam, in 15 games last year, he threw 8 touchdowns. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes throws 8 touchdowns in 2 games.
But I'll argue this, though. Patrick Mahomes has people to throw to. New England had as few weapons as you could possibly put on a field around a quarterback.
That is true. That is true. I mean, yeah, I won't argue that at
And
all.
I'm no
But
Cam fan,
but
but
I
I'm just,
do, but I do look at touchdown numbers,
yeah.
and I mean, he's throwing so few. They ran him so much. It was almost like they were running this gimmick offense with him last year.
I think Belichick was trying to kill him.
It looked like he was. I mean, Cam was taking some hits last year. I actually felt bad for him, some of the hits he was taking. But again, I still think, yeah, is he still a solid quarterback? I think he is, but I don't think the elite level, a guy that can carry a team, he's not that guy anymore.
One last thing, and I hate to close on a down note, but Colt Brennan, who was a phenom at the University of Hawaii for June Jones, throwing out of the run and shoot, died today at the age of 37. Apparently, he'd been in rehab for 5 months up to this point. He's had a lot of alcohol and drug problems. But I remember when he was playing back in 2006 and 2007 with Hawaii. And, like most run and shoot quarterbacks, he was putting up Andre Ware numbers.
It's the only season that season he led them. Was it to the Sugar Bowl? What bowl did he take them to? They played Georgia.
In 2006, he threw 58 touchdown passes, 5,549 yards, completed 72.6% of his throws. And that number the number of touchdown passes stood as the FBS record until Joe Burrow broke it. And then he finished 6th in the Heisman voting that year. He comes back the following year. He takes Hawaii to their first ever outright Western Athletic Conference championship. This time only threw for 4,300 yards, 38 touchdowns, so way down in numbers, but they had a better football team. They ended up going 12-0 in the regular season, and then they got pounded by Georgia in the Sugar Bowl.
Right, but I was gonna, so that window of when he played is the only time in my life that I stayed up late to watch Hawaii games, because they were always on at a ridiculous time of night. But I love just watching him put up video game numbers was crazy. And I actually, I mean, the way he was throwing, and with June Jones, who had an NFL background, thought maybe he could make it in the league. He did. I'm trying to remember. I think he hung around a little bit. I mean, was it a couple years, or
he was with Washington for 2 years. He had a short stint with Oakland in 2010, and then spent some time playing arena ball and Canadian football, but he just never could make it. Here's the thing I want to point out to people, because I've had some experience with this as well. After his playing career ended, Brennan had several run-ins with the law, including multiple arrests for drunk driving. He also sustained serious injuries, including a traumatic brain injury in 2010 in a car crash. I have a family member that had a traumatic brain injury in a car crash. He was never the same person. And so if he had a problem with addiction before, and then you throw on top of it a traumatic brain injury that literally changes your personality, I could see why he'd be having the struggles he had in his life. It's sad. It's just a sad story all the way around.
Yeah, and I had no idea that he had been having these problems since he left football.
I mean, he went completely off the radar after he got out of football. Nobody, knew or cared where Colt Brennan was. He just he was one of those guys that was a terrific college player that just,
he was fun to watch.
Just couldn't play in the pros. He wasn't a big guy. He was 6 feet, if that. But again, June Jones, everybody that ever played for him put up ridiculous, pinball numbers. But I do remember, as you do, that it was fun to watch until the dream got destroyed against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, and you saw what happened when they played a real football team.
Yeah, and it was an ugly ugly one too, because they got throttled. But it didn't take away from his career. He was an amazing college quarterback, and just really, really sad to see that happen at such a young age still.
No doubt. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, I'm excited to see. It's funny because we already know who all the teams are going to play. And it just shows you how the NFL is ridiculous, how they own everything from the draft and now the schedule. We know who everyone's playing anyways, but the order that the games will be played we'll be excited to see that tomorrow. And I'm sure the Cowboys, as usual, will get the 5. Each team can have up to 5 national televised games. I'm
Oh,
sure the Cowboys will have all of them. So
I guarantee you, if Dak stays healthy, they will not be flexed out of the Sunday night slot like they were this past year. That's
yeah,
happened one time, and that will never happen if he's still playing.
yeah, and that was shocking that happened when it did. I mean, the Cowboys would never get flexed out of a spot.
Oh, if anything, they were getting flexed into the spot most of
Right,
the time.
yeah.
So, all right, Ryan, great to talk to you. Hope you have a great week. Look forward to visiting with you next week. And we wish the best to Medina Valley. Enjoy your hay. Make sure there's nothing in it. And we'll talk to you. Be sure to subscribe, leave comments, be nice, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, bud.